Yo, what is going on? And welcome to another episode of the Urban Pitch Podcast, the beautiful game of life, part of the Believe Network. I am Ramsey Abushala, editor of UrbanPitch.com. The co-executive directors of Vibes in the building, Julio Monterosa, Bridget Flores. What's going on, y'all?
Currently injured.
Injured reserve team right now.
We got them
Injured
on that
reserve.
side. Yeah, we got them. You know, the
Load
doctor's list. They got to send in the doctor's note, so
Vibes,
they're
we
all
went a
good.
little too hard with the vibes, but we're still out here.
You're gonna have to add subs.
Yeah, I know. We've had people in the DMs, asking, when can we get Julio out of there? But
Give him a break.
Yeah.
So you're the me of this.
Yeah, I've been going a little too hard.
Yeah.
My doctor said I can't stanky leg for at least 2 weeks.
Oh no.
Yeah,
You
that's
hate
my
to
go-to
see it.
move.
Yeah.
Go-to
Yeah, I hate
move.
to see it.
Yeah, out 2 weeks on the ticker. Yeah, but we have very special guests in the building. We've been trying to make this happen for a minute, kind of last minute, but appreciate y'all out in LA here. We got Alexis, Guerreros, Christian Polanco, the Cooligans, the gulliest podcast in the game. What's going on?
We can't afford it. I saw you guys have a soundboard.
Yeah.
We've been trying to get one for a while.
The bald eagle screech.
Yeah. We could get all these cameras, but no soundboard.
I
just don't get it.
It's actually yelled at us. It's not an eagle, right? It's like a red herring or something.
Yeah. Well,
Can we
really?
curse?
Oh, interesting.
Can we curse?
Listen,
I
Try not to? Try
Yeah,
not to.
yeah.
all
We
good.
got. On the YouTubes. We're trying
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah, when did YouTube become a herb, bro?
Seriously, yeah.
Honor to be here, Randy. We could talk about soundboards that we don't have, or we could just move on.
Imagine
But
I pulled the soundboard out of my pocket.
y'all should have brought it. Listen,
Yeah.
because this is all us right
Yeah.
here. This is right
You gotta
here.
do it
y'all
yourself.
can do the sounds if you want.
At what point do you think we can get it to your level to have a soundboard?
I mean, it's really easy entry. You don't have to.
You just have to go buy one.
I feel like,
Send the link or something.
do we have an Amazon account?
Okay, we gotta start
I
there.
feel like that's the base level.
I mean, we aren't the gatekeepers of the soundboard.
Okay. Amazon.
But
I think
yeah,
I heard of Amazon.
Yeah.
honored to be here, bro.
Yeah.
My
Thank
favorite
you.
part of the soundboard is how much Christian hates how much I use it.
Yeah,
He's like, all right, dude, that's enough eagles. I'm like,
You start to feel like a DJ.
yeah, oh my God. I would love that.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Maybe
Maybe
we can
that's
make-
why we don't have a soundboard.
Yeah.
We probably go.
Well,
crazy.
it's probably better because y'all would be.
I'll be like
way
Adonis.
Yeah. But I mean, it's been a minute. Alexis, we were talking on the way in. We had you back on the podcast in the old format when it was the different hosts.
When it was in black and white.
Yes, right. Yeah. Before
we weren't born.
Yeah, I know. And then shortly before that, I had the pleasure of interviewing y'all for the website.
That's right.
And I mean, it's crazy. That was 2019, which to me seems like still
Pre-COVID.
like 2 years
That's
ago.
the wildest part.
Yeah.
We talk about those times like, we were reading out of scrolls.
Yeah.
It was like pre-COVID. Oh my God, my grandmother was.
Back in our day,
Yeah, it sounds like a whole different era.
It
of
really
time.
is. You don't remember them days.
But that like we did like a photo spread,
Right.
we did and an interview and stuff like that, and that was like really one of I don't know, it was like a kind of a monumental moment even in our careers that we got like a profile.
Which goes to show we were doing nothing back
We-
then.
No, but it felt like
it was huge.
it felt like a moment of like, oh, like people are kind of aware of what we're doing and care about the story and like just appreciate our contributions to the game up to that point. So, I could tell you in person now. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for doing that because that was really, really dope.
Yeah, I called Alexis Alex for the first probably 15 minutes of that interview.
Right.
And it's one of those things that still sticks with me, and I'll be in
Me
the shower
too, by the way.
I was
No wonder
I
you
mean,
came
he
in.
gets our names wrong, so
yeah. Oh no,
How
I
could
messed
you
yeah.
forget Brian and Janet?
Yeah, of course.
The vibes duo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maria gets it
Yeah.
popping all the time.
Also, I picked the two least Latin names.
I'm going for it.
Brian and Janet.
Today's episode is brought to you by Bet Online. The holiday season is off and rolling with NFL in full stride and the NBA and NHL hitting mid-season form. Bet Online is your #1 destination for all your sports wagering info. With up-to-the-minute sports wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions, Bet Online is the top spot for everything pro and amateur sports. And not just the big four, Bet Online has info available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time for almost any sport that's played, from MMA to international soccer. Head to Bet Online today and remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts.
Trust what I am.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, like a lot has changed since that. I mean, with soccer, with y'all, but soccer culture, especially, we'll focus on the pod a lot. But for you guys specifically, what have you guys seen just over the last few years? Obviously, with the game becoming more popular, the influence is spreading throughout different parts of American culture. Yeah. What are some of the biggest things that you guys have seen in terms of soccer's influence?
Well, the money's up. The money's up.
It's not in our pockets, but it is up.
It's available. They just will not give it to us. No, but I just think, to be honest, I think it's different. The world in 2018, 2019, it doesn't feel like it, but if you look back, you're like, oh yeah, we kind of still had to convince people that what we're all doing was as important as it is. And I think now the world is different. I think now people understand that content that's not just on TV is as essential to the game, where it feels like in that time, we were still kind of trying to convince people like, no, podcast is important, And now it feels like people are like, oh, you guys have a podcast? That's dope. Oh, look at your Instagram. Oh, look at your TikTok. Like, that makes more sense to like people in brands, people at like the league and stuff. I feel like at that point, we were still kind of being like, all right, we'll let you talk to one of the players, but we're going to keep our phones recording and we're going to be there and we're going to be monitoring and all that. Versus now it's like, oh yeah, hey, do you guys want to talk to a player this week? Where that didn't exist then, whether that's because we have like some longevity now and we've kind of proven ourselves to some degree, or maybe the world has just sort of met us halfway where we don't have to convince people that what we're doing is important. Now it's like they kind of expect it or they understand.
Yeah,
it.
and I think the especially the perspective of like two comedians in the soccer space. Our first
Cuban and a Dominican.
Makes
Talking
no
about
sense.
soccer, two powerhouses.
Okay.
Cuba and Dominican Republic.
Taking over CONCACAF. You better watch out.
Slowly but surely.
But we've gotten to the point where there is like some credibility in what we're doing, or at least people are seeing some value in like. It's interesting and fun when a player, an MLS player, an NWSL player, Premier League player, are just interacting with comedians. It's just those two worlds never really overlap that often, and it's just becoming more normal. And it's great to back in 2019 when we did that piece, it felt like we still had to just convince people like it's okay for us to be around players or whatever.
Yeah, it's okay for them to laugh and
and
there'll be times where they're like, "Can we cut that out?" I'm like, "That was fun." Right. We don't want the fans to think they're not being serious.
When we go to All Star, people at MLS are like, "All right." Before we used to have to beg to try to get some moment with a player.
Or we'd be in a scrum, like journalists asking questions, and we're like,
and it was just,
yo, your DMs must be lit.
It was just wild, unprofessional. And now
people from The Athletic were very upset.
But now people at MLS are like, all right, when you guys are at training, we're gonna give you your own space and your own time, and we're gonna bring the players over to you. And it's not because we're important. I think they realize we're different. So this is a good thing for fans. So a couple, the MLS All-Star in Minnesota, we had one of my favorite moments of our career was when we were interviewing Chicharito, and then Carlos Vela shows up and just surprises us.
Just walks in and we're like, oh my God.
He does a lot of talking. I don't.
I love that because we were like, oh, you guys play for different teams, but how's that affect your friendship? And Carlos Vela was like, who said we're friends? And we're like, this is the content. And then MLS is everyone, the cool story is behind the camera, all of a sudden everyone shows up, it's snapping photos. We felt like we were on TMZ. It was just everything snap, and everyone's getting video, and all the executives are smiling because they realize here's a moment where you couldn't have forced this. It couldn't have been some brand activation that put these two in a room. It would have been awkward, but Vela saw Chicharito and he was like, I'm gonna go over there and mess with him. And it became this organic moment that's Latino fans were like, yo, that's crazy. Mexico fans were like, yo, that's wild. I haven't seen them do stuff like that together. It's crazy that we were the vehicle for that. And you couldn't have paid. You couldn't have found a way to pay them to do that.
No, I think you as you're talking, I feel like there's 2 points that you're bringing up. One is just obviously throughout the years, the social media platforms have pushed a lot of it's a thing now. You have to have an Instagram or a TikTok or a Twitter to network, to find opportunities. But also on the other end too, it's you kind of break the ice for the audience, the fans, to get to know the players on a different level. When before, like you said, it was all they had to be serious, ready, focused. But when you get to see a different side of them, it kind of it humanizes them a little bit more, and it gives fans more to appreciate about the person that they're looking up to or that they see play.
Totally.
That was our goal.
Yeah, and that's why even, some of my like favorite interviews are not always like with like the most famous players. Like sometimes people are always like, "Oh, what's your dream get?" And I'm like, I don't know. Like it's like
Sunil Gulati.
which we've emailed.
Yeah.
We have hit him up.
We have tried. That is my dream.
But
get.
it's stuff like that where I'm like, we can talk to a player that's plays on the second team, and they might be have a great personality and have a great like outlook on what it means to be a professional athlete, and those are like really fun too. It's like we could yes, would I love to interview Messi? I'm not gonna tell him no,
Right.
but do I expect it to be something like wildly different than what he normally does? No, but I love the challenge. That'd be fascinating.
Yeah.
I like that we never tell each other what questions we're going to ask. We kind of surprise each other. We also go whatever way the conversation is going. So like when we interviewed Tom Davies from Everton, like he started one question and I was like, what do you like more, LA or New York? Because it kind of like you talked about traveling in the States, and that started a whole nother. And then we got like a funny back and forth. And I think that's the moment where he realized like, oh, these guys are actually comedians, because he was like couldn't continue the conversation, was laughing so hard. That is the same way we would talk to a second string player or anyone, because we have microphones in front of us. We want it to be funny, so we're just gonna find a way to sort of break through that media training. And I think it's kind of like you mentioned, it's become a little bit more familiar now where people are like, oh, Cooligans is where you go if you want to have a fun conversation. I think like the media departments and teams are like, oh yeah, this guy's got a great personality on the team, let's message the Cooligan. And we're like, okay. Whereas before we would be like, I swear we're not gonna like, I don't know what they thought
We're not gonna destroy your club.
Yeah. We're not gonna like smack them in the face with like one of those like pies. Like, I don't know what they thought comedians were, but early on we had to keep convincing them like we're brand safe. We're not saying like wild stuff.
Right.
Like we're just trying to be funny and have a good time. And early on we're like, if we could add value to the American player, because Christian brings this up all the time, but like when we started, like you would get like the biggest names, like David Beckham would be on a late night show, but like no MLS player would be on an late night show. So we're like, all right, we'll be the comedians that interview them then. So like that kind of started that road of like every interview we do is just straight funny. Like we don't care about the facts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, none about your tactics.
We don't either.
Yeah, we're very anti-X's and O's.
Yeah,
on
anti.
this,
Leave that
you
for
know.
Taylor 12, man.
Like I now have to do it on the
That
morning.
guy.
I have to do it on the morning show. And at first they were
Right,
like,
yeah.
whoa, you know this? I'm like, yes, I know the game. But my podcast is not the vehicle for Christian. I'd be like, let's break down XG.
Every week, like at least Charlie Davies like pats him on the head.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So, you actually know something.
Bro, sometimes we'll like cut to a commercial. He's like, did you make that up? And I'm like, no. I'm out here doing research. Like, we know the game, but that's not what Cooligans is about.
Yeah.
There's a billion podcasts. There's a billion pieces of content for you to like see breakdowns. Go watch Tifo. You know, go watch something like that. They do an incredible job of it.
Yeah.
For us, it's just let's just have as much fun as possible.
Yeah. And then every once in a while you get the crossover moment where you can break down pizza on the show too.
Yeah.
That's when I get into the XP.
Yeah, that was like a watershed moment, because I was watching that, I saw the clip, and I was like, this is like, he was born to do this. Like this is in depth, like no stuttering, no nothing. It was just straight facts, like
Bro, people don't even know the photos behind me were in the wrong order. I told him that.
Yeah.
Like, so as I'm talking, I'm like setting up the next photo. I look up, I'm like, what, get going, you? You know, like, it's like that's not. But like, I found a way to kind of work my way through it. But when I pitched it, they were like, all right, so you'll say like one or two things about pizza, and then we'll go on to something else. I'm like, no, I need to be at the wall. I'm like, here's a bunch of photos of what I'm going to talk about. Here's maps. Here's areas. They were supposed to zoom in on the Liguria region of Genoa. Like, I had a bunch of stuff, and they were like, whoa. The producer was like, this is a lot of information. I'm like, it should take like 2 minutes. It ended up being 8 minutes of me talking. But it was so funny because like we started getting messages, and Christian's like, this is what he does off camera. Like, he's just constantly talking about pizza.
I was happy that he got the platform to do that, but I'm watching and I'm like, this is boring, dog. I've heard this 40,000 times.
He's like, let me guess, the Liguria region.
Who
Like-
does that guy work with, bro?
Bro, next segment, dog.
like Guerrero region one more time. This guy says my yard reaction one more time, bro. Like,
Hey, they say it be your own people.
Yeah, they do. It be your own people. Christian's just like, put on another player holding a puppy. We don't care about this.
Move on.
Dude, I got texts from people like, yo, you might win an Emmy. I'm like, could you imagine if I win an Emmy for talking about pizza on a soccer show? That
Make
would be,
Dempsey freestyle. Like,
that would be
Just
perfect.
change the whole game, right
Bro,
there.
it changed the game. I still can't believe they let me do that.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you gotta take the shots that come for you.
Bro,
you know?
I just, whenever something pops up, I'm like, I think I
Yes.
might be the one to talk about it.
Yeah. So I mean, on the topic of like soccer culture and
You came
you
prepared
guys,
with questions. Huh?
yeah, I have the whole thing.
Oh,
spreadsheet,
Ramsey's
bro.
ready.
Yeah,
Where's,
yeah,
don't,
yeah.
don't look
Don't
at us.
Yeah,
Don't look
yeah.
at us.
No
We-
research.
Where's your spreadsheet?
We don't know.
Yeah, they,
Oh, my knee.
I got the cheat sheet right here.
no, they come in with the freestyle questions, you know, the off the top, you know,
Yeah.
Acapulco, like, you know, like,
Acapulco.
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah.
That's what we all.
We're
what
the
we all-
cool kids in the back. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back of the school bus
Yeah.
over here. I like
Yeah,
this.
right. And then
More than 2 windows.
Yeah.
right, yeah, I gotta, you know, hold it at least somewhat.
You're the
observe it,
Christian.
yeah.
of
Yeah,
the-
yeah.
Maybe, yeah,
The
yeah.
journalistic integrity
Right,
of
right,
the program.
Yeah, geek.
sure, yeah. I mean,
He
they,
does the homework and we copy.
Exactly.
right. But I mean, they
You
do.
even put his name on yours.
Yeah,
like, damn, I
yeah.
copied too much.
We all get an A in the project.
Yeah. Dude,
Effort.
I stole one of my sister's papers for college. She left it on the computer, and I was like, yo, what? I took it off, and I submitted it without changing anything, just my name, and I got a better grade than she did.
No.
Damn,
She was like, what? She's like, I want to talk to you, professor. I'm like, don't you understand? You'll be throwing me under the bus?
You got to work harder.
Smarter, work smarter.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, you should have wiped that laptop. That's your fault.
That's on you.
Yeah.
That's on you at that point. But like being in New York City, we like from LA, we watched from afar. Like we had the Five-A-Side podcast come
Oh, yeah,
through.
yeah. This guy's
and-
great.
The homies.
Yeah, like it just seems like everything's so tight knit there. Like you guys are all, you know, hanging out. I don't know if you guys are actually hanging out, but it seems like
We have
we
no
hate
friends
them.
out
Who's
here.
the one that drinks the most?
No, we're nice to them on camera.
Yeah, we
Behind
hate
the scenes,
them.
can't stand those
We
guys.
make sure no eye contact.
you guys are doing a good job of putting
No
that image,
handshakes.
Yeah.
you know, out
Dude,
from,
yeah.
from you know from like the
Professional
Yeah.
standpoint.
like from
They
these
keep paying the
binoculars.
fee. We'll keep pretending.
right. But what is it like the soccer scene in New York? Because I feel like that's you know, like LA, New York, Miami, Atlanta, like there's some of the bigger like soccer
Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
cities.
What?
I think we early on, because comedy is like really collaborative. Not on stage. On stage, it's one person by themselves. But off stage, we all work with each other. We all help each other. We all, like, if someone's filming a sketch, like, there's a bunch of comics holding cameras and lights and whatever you need, the whiteboards to balance the light. Like, comics will always help each other. So when we got into this, we were wanting to be collaborative with everyone, and people were like, we don't know who you are. And it turned out that most people in media were, at that time, former players. And they all knew each other, and they didn't know us. We had no connections in the game. We had no, so we were just people DMing them. I think over time, I don't think it was specifically us. I know we were like really hell-bent on collaborating with people, especially people who like, we liked what they did, and we just like saw something in what they were doing that mimicked what we wanted to do, or like the level we wanted to get to. That I think as other podcasts started, like Five-A-Side, like immediately they would message us and be like, yo, we're starting a podcast. Yo, we love what you guys do. And I mean, we knew a lot of those guys earlier. So it was like, bro, bet whenever you need us. And I think I even said this to you last time I was here. I was here for like 3 weeks straight. And I said like, yo, any podcast you want me in, I'm going to do. And I only got messages from like 4 or 5 of them. And then afterwards, people were like, oh, we were going to ask you, but we didn't think you'd. I'm like, I would have done any podcast, because especially at that point, it was just about getting to know as many people that are trying to do what we're doing. And I think now New York it was LA for a while. And I think just before COVID and then after COVID, I think a lot of the focus of soccer in the U.S. has moved to New York. Like a lot of the tastemakers have like moved either back to New York.
And
I think now it's like a lot more.
Yeah, and like,
collaborative.
and just, you know, I play week in and week out as opposed to Alexis. Alexis is he's
Your boy
hanging.
don't play.
Really?
He had to let it
Yeah.
be
You
known.
look like a forward. You look like a number
what it
9
is?
that
I
can
don't
hold
wanna
the ball.
show off.
Striker.
You know?
I feel that.
But
Yeah.
what's changed about New York in just the last 4 or 5 years is like the growth of the pickup culture. So I play in a league called NYC Footy, and that it went from like, you know, they had permits for like 3 or 4 fields, and now they like run New York. They have like, it might be like 15 to like 30 fields.
If
or
there's
whatever.
a public space, they've got a game going. Well, I'm like, how are you getting these permits?
That's been great. Just seeing like I mean, it's legit like thousands and thousands of people playing more pickup, and there's a bunch of other leagues. But then also like Cal Martino opened Football Cafe,
Right.
and built
FC.
Street FC.
Street FC, which I've used.
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
I played. I mean, I'm not good enough for Street FC. Some of those guys are a little too good. It's like I want to just play, and it's
They
like
call you.
it's like former MLS guys playing sometimes.
No,
I'm like,
yeah.
"All right, bro, take
I
it easy."
played with him out in LA when he had like a soft opening.
Yeah.
Guy can ball. I had to throw an elbow at him. He was moving.
Kyle, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kyle
no,
got
Kyle's
moved.
no
so I had
joke.
to throw an elbow at him. Like, relax, dude. You got chill.
So-
You don't realize like he learned from like Jamaicans. He's got like foot movement. You're like, I did not think that old
Yeah,
white
yeah.
dude would do that.
No, definitely. He was
Did
playing
you,
with some SB dunks. I'm like,
Yeah.
who is this guy?
Yeah.
Yo?
Kyle. This is like a thing, you know. A lot of times, even in the Beckham documentary, that Kyle Martino was in it, and they kind of had a couple jokes about like, oh, these guys are like
Pool cleaner.
pool
Right,
cleaners
yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like
He
that.
does dress like that.
He does.
He does.
And Kyle, I played against Kyle, and it's just like one of the like. I'm saying this as a non-professional athlete because I'm facing a professional athlete, but it's one of those things where you immediately realize like, yo, I'm not getting the ball from this guy. Like, not even.
And he's not even trying.
And he's not even
No.
That's not even the competitive gene hasn't kicked in.
Yeah.
There's a pizza place in New York, Lindustry. I bring it up all the time. They were
Yeah.
on the show. They cook pizzas for us. I bring them all the time. The guy who owns it, one of the guys who owns it, is a guy named Massimo who played semi-pro in Italy. And I was like, oh, I'll get you connected to some of the MLS guys, some of the former MLS guys. Kyle being one of them, like Mike McGee was in town. I brought him there. Aleko Eskandarian. I was like, I'll link you with them. They all play pickup. You could play with him. And he's like, oh, MLS. And no. He's like, no, I played almost a pro in Italy. So, no, MLS. And I'm like, bro, just go to one game. And when I introduced him to Kyle was like, yo, you should come out and play. He goes, yeah, okay, I come. And I was like, Kyle, work him. Hey, bro, he called me. He was like, oh, Ale, they could have played in Europe. You know what happened? This is no the MLS I used to watch. I'm like, bro, there's skill out here, bro. Like, and I think even he's like very active, and he plays on a team with Aleko, and Aleko called me. He was like, bro, this dude's crazy. He's like, we don't train enough. And he's like, these guys are like, we're here to party, man.
No. Kyle, honestly, he has a different gear. Like, it was, he was the older guy that played.
Yeah.
No, Kobe Jones came as well to play that pickup, but Kyle still got his change of speed, change of direction. Like,
Yeah.
I had to Google him. Like, hey, how many years have you played in the league?
No joke, he's good.
My favorite
great.
thing we threw, so his first football house, which is like a Soho house for soccer, it was in his house, and he asked us. He had a backyard with one of those goals that come out of the ground.
Yeah.
He asked us to throw a comedy show. This is like peak COVID, with like comedians were still putting like
It's before vaccine.
before the vaccine. So comics are wearing gloves to perform, like mad scare. So all the parties outside, no one's going inside. Oh, you're only going inside to like grab a beer or to go to the bathroom. One of the comics we invited is this Italian kid from Canada, from like Vaughan, where all the Italians are. And it's, Pavone,
Yeah,
crazy, full blown maniac. I love this guy. He's like, so the guy who owns this house used to play soccer. That's crazy. I'm gonna go talk to him. I'm like, oh my god. So he's like, yeah, I played a little soccer too. I'm in high school. You know what I mean? He's like, yeah, you played soccer at MLS. All right, sure. And he's like, oh yeah, I played a little too. And he's like, doing keepy uppies and all that. And he's not bad. Alex Pavone's a very good player.
We have a comedian like Sunday League team, and he played on that. He's pretty good.
And
yeah.
he's very good, bro. This guy slaps me on the arm. He's like, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me he like was like for real?
Yeah. He played with Beckham.
No,
That's
he
what
goes in the bathroom. The photo above the toilet is the team photo of him next to Beckham.
I was saying, if it was just him and Beckham, that would have been crazy. That would have been crazy.
You don't put that in the bathroom. You don't put that in the bathroom.
You put that on your nightstand.
That's
different.
Imagine it was in the bathroom, but upside down.
Oh my God.
You can see it off the mirror.
Hey, baby, when you wake up, look at that picture of me and Beckham.
While you wipe him, you're like, oh. But he was like, bro, he played with Beckham, and I'm over there talking about I played soccer. So he's like, I juggled the ball in front of this guy. He played with Beckham. And I'm like, bro, Kyle got it, bro.
Yeah.
So his I think Street FC, Football Cafe.
But also guys like Stith,
There's a-
Ethan White. What's the Scenes, which used to be Who the
Tens
F for
Club?
Tens Club,
Yeah.
like all those, like the creative part of soccer, all of a sudden blew up because each of them were, I think, getting more opportunities. Where now it's become even more like a bigger group, but also like it feels like we all are happy to work with each other in a way that I don't think.
And
we
then
have in the
when we
past.
started Cooligans, in 2015, a lot of comics, like, they were just like, are you going to start a soccer podcast? Like, what, they're going to be 4 people listening? And then now...
My wife said the same thing. She's like, well, do you ever want to pay rent?
But
like,
now...
how about an NBA podcast?
Now I get, messages, and when I bump into other comics, that a lot of times they're like, yo, I wish I would have started something like you guys years ago to like build on something or whatever. And so it makes me very proud that like we
Prove them wrong.
Yeah, well, not even that.
They
but
were stupid.
It's hard.
They didn't believe in us.
They don't believe in us.
God did.
Thank God my landlord did too.
So, but it's more than that. It's like it's a good feeling to like in comedy. It's hard to find your lane. Like, I mean, we started doing stand up at open mics, and everybody's like, some people end up writing for SNL. Some people end up having like successful stand up careers.
That was your plan.
I wanted to write for SNL.
That's how I convinced him to do a podcast with me, because he's like, yo, I want to write and produce. I'm like, you could write and produce everything I say. I'm like, I don't want to do any work.
So that was like, it's nice to find our lane, and it's the lane no other comics would have picked, and it just worked out for us. So it's like that's a point of pride, definitely for us.
Yeah, and I mean, right, like finding the niche, because you have to cut through the noise. It's the same in podcasting, right? Where like there's a million podcasts, there's a bunch of different stand-up comedians, so finding the lane and sticking to it. Like,
this is one thing. I know a lot of people say like, oh, there's a million podcasts, but if you actually look at the statistics of podcasts, most podcasts don't get past 2 episodes. Like there might be a million, but as far as podcasts that actually continually post, it goes from this million podcasts to like only. There might be less than like 10,000 or even maybe less than that actually post consistently. So there's not as much competition as you may think. The consistency is really important.
I do think consumers just assume there's a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
It's also still not easy to find a podcast. So I do think differentiating yourself is super important, because in anything you do, don't just be like, even when we started doing stand-up, at first you just want to get on stage and be funny, and then you'll figure out like what my voice will be like, what am I going to talk about, or how am I going to talk about it. And there's comics that just go up and only talk about like whatever the trending news topic is. There's comics that'll never bring up politics. There's comics that'll do this. There's comics that'll, whatever. And you just kind of have to figure out what your lane is. Because when somebody goes like, what do you joke about? I still be like, I don't know. Like, I'm fat. I'm married. I talk about those things a lot. I just kind of talk about how dumb I am. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I talk about on stage. But for a podcast, the worst thing you could do is just be like, oh, we're just a couple guys that just talk about the news. Like, there's a million of that. You know what I mean? Like, that you got to find a way to differentiate yourself. And there was literally no one that was like, we're doing a soccer podcast, but we want it to be funny. Right. There are soccer podcasts that were sometimes funny, and there were funny podcasts that would sometimes talk about soccer. Yeah. But they would never be one that was specifically like, all right, the Venn diagram of comedy and soccer, we're going to be the middle. No one had ever done that. And I'm just happy he kind of believed in the vision, because I pitched him. We were in the stands.
He urban pitched me.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is.
All right, this was fun, guys. This was
Mama, I made it.
It's over.
You can find us on
wrap it up.
Twitter, X.
So now we own 40% of this podcast.
I'm not responding to my DMs tonight. Sorry. I apologize.
Like for us, like when I pitched him on it, we were making people around us laugh at the NYCFC games. I was like, bro. And I had already had the idea and the name Cooligans. I was like, I want to do a podcast. Because I didn't see content. There was no Latinos. I mean, there were, but they were like South American, or they played already.
Or
you know what I mean?
to assimilate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of that. A lot of whitewashing. There certainly wasn't anyone with any like little bit of hoodness to him. I'm born and raised in Newark. He's from Brooklyn. Like, there was no one's like at that time, like no one was making like a whatever, even like a 50 Cent reference. Like everything was like super straight, super suburban, super white, super, like middle class. And I was like, bro, there's got to be something for us. And we were in the stands. The stands are full of like Ecuadorians and Puerto Ricans and, people from South America, Chilenos, everybody's there. So I was like, if anyone's going to do it, it should be us. So when I pitched him on it, he was like, okay. I was like, what? I thought it was going to take so much more. And then he was like, but we got to come up with a name, because every comedian starts something, we don't have a name. I was like, when I said Cooligans, my friend was like, yo, that's terrible. And I go, no, it's like so bad it's good. Right. It like goes full circle. He was like, no, I don't. And I was like, whatever. So when I told him, he was like, we got to come up with a name. I was like, what about Cooligans? He goes, oh, it's so bad it's actually good. I was like, oh. And that was like the moment where I'm like, this is going to work.
You guys did the
yeah. We touched tips. Can you put that on? Isn't that a beam of light shining out?
Isn't that how everybody
Who shivered?
That's how y'all did this, right?
Who shivered first?
That's how y'all figured this out?
Pretty much. We actually have a pretty similar story. It's weird that you guys say that.
Exactly. It was just an LAFC instead of...
Bridget walked into...
I thought
We had to bring her in, so
now you
Senate-
can't tell anyone.
Bridget just put her finger. All right, that's all I got.
Pulls the
Hey, there was a woohoo that came out of that. To this day, we don't know who it was.
We're all the same size on that.
Yes.
Where's that soundboard? We need it.
Where's the hot?
Oh my god! Isn't this what all your episodes are like?
Bridget coming in hot.
from the top floor.
She's going like, we're all doing finger. Oh,
Never mind.
I hear finger popping.
Bridget's going on vacation tomorrow, so she's already in that mode. Yeah.
All good.
Finger popping mode.
Ready
Oh
for
my
anything.
god.
Hey, yo, be careful what you ask for. You're going to Mexico.
yeah.
So let's talk about the show. The evolution. So started, I believe, in one of your guys' kitchens.
2015. Yeah, my kitchen.
Yeah.
My kitchen in like your living room every once in a while.
Right.
Yeah.
When
And-
my wife was like, "Could you stop yelling about soccer?" I'm like, "All right, we gotta use it."
yeah, and then going to the studio, getting on Fubo, and now with the Lebertard and friends. Talk about the progression and how that works.
I mean, it's just wild. We still got jobs. I mean, it's
The fact that people pay us for this is crazy.
it's one of those things where I always feel like tomorrow's gonna fall apart. Like, but this is the cool thing is that we just sort of, I guess, like found a lane. I mean, we were talking about five-a-side before, and we get like comments from a lot of other people that are starting podcasts or whatever, and people would just be like, "Yo, you inspired us to do this." And I'm like, wow, you gonna make me cry, dog. What's all this about?
Yo, what? Dusty in here.
So more than anything, I don't really look at like every either being on TV or being with Meadowlark or whatever. It's like it's a great opportunity, and I'm proud that we got to a point where people see value in what we're doing, and they appreciate like the community that we built and fan base, and they're like, all right, we want to pay you for that. But more than anything, it's just like. I just want to keep making really, really cool stuff. I mean,
That's really it. That's like been our plan since day one. It's
Yeah.
like just if we can keep finding people to pay us so that we can just keep doing what we want to do.
So that's
It's
really
been
it is.
crazy.
But yeah, more than anything is like, we've gotten to do really cool stuff and like with either doing shows or even traveling. Like we've been to Germany a bunch of times, or like with Bundesliga. But the things I like really, really love and appreciate is like the times like in 2018 when we did a stand-up tour. It was called the World Cup Comedy Tour, and we went to 8 different like MLS cities and did stand-up for like MLS fans. And the communities that come through, like to like soccer fans at comedy clubs, and sometimes we'll have like MLS players on stage or whatever.
On that tour, he started doing this. He goes, "Raise your hands if you've never been to a comedy club before." I'm like, "Why are you wasting time?" And then like 60% of the hands would go up. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Wait, what?"
Yeah,
That would blow my mind. I'm like, "Bro, y'all adults."
So-
because it's the world we live in. It's the world we live in. So I just assume everyone
Right.
goes to a comedy club.
And it's fascinating because even sometimes at the show people would bring like their partners who like don't care about soccer at all, and then it's like we make some joke about Tam or something like that, and they just you could just see like, oh, they don't know what's going on at all. But then the people who get it, and it's like they laugh harder than like if they were just going to a comedy club to just like watch any other comic, because it's like there is something so hyper specific and nerdy about something that they love, and they're like at a comedy club, and it's like normal to talk about. So those kinds of things are really, really fun. Like the Independent Supporters Council, that every year they have a conference. And we used to do stand up for them. We've started doing this like MLS roast, and we just at the end of the year we just roast all their clubs. So they have representatives from every single team, and we can tell jokes that are super specific to like MLS or NWSL. And just the room erupts, and it's just like it feels like a Comedy Central roast of whoever.
Yeah. There's no other room in the world you can do that in.
And it's one of those things. We write these jokes, and we can only do them in that room for these people, and we can't do them anywhere else because at any other club nobody would get it. So that's kind of the thing I'm most proud of just like fostering this community of people that it's like it's okay to be proud of like loving the sport, especially as an American soccer fan, and you can laugh about it without people making fun of you or whatever, because that's usually been like the standard.
How easy was it writing LA Galaxy jokes this year?
Oh, bro. Wasn't the last year, the one we did last year, the LA Galaxy dude got really mad at us.
He got
Because they were terrible.
And you guys were just saying the truth. It's not a joke. I'm just telling you the truth.
We just held up the table.
of all the we showed him a logo. Look, this is the biggest joke. It's you. But of all the teams, and there were teams that were terrible, and there were fans, the supporters, even like Red Bull supporters who didn't really care about us too much because we're NYCFC fans. They even laughed at the jokes.
Yeah.
Bro, this dude from LA Galaxy was like, man, F you guys.
First to five.
Yeah. He was just like, didn't understand how a roast works.
Yeah.
It's like, we're doing this because we love the league, bro. Like, we're not, remember how mean we were to everyone else?
It was funny when it was those guys.
It was so weird. We roasted NYCFC. Like, everybody got it. It was a whole league. It's going to, stop adding teams. It's going to be we're 6 hours.
Yeah, expansion.
Yeah.
Do you guys still get time to do stand up?
Yeah, I mean,
doing sets?
My schedule's changed completely because I'm on a morning show, which took a lot of consideration. I'm like, bro, like I don't go to bed till 4. Do I really want to wake up at 4? It's a completely different life. But I don't. When the show was 7 to 9, I could not do stand up Sunday to Thursday. I just couldn't because I had to go to bed by 9 p.m. But now I go to bed at 10, so it gives me that extra hour. I could do the 8 o'clock show. But the problem is, and this is like the biggest issue with being a comic, is you get off stage, your adrenaline is through the roof. It's like you're on a high line with no safety net every night. Even if you've said the jokes a million times, it's exhilarating, bro. There's no way I could do an 8 o'clock show. Even if I got home and was in bed at 9, my heart would be like, boom, 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 boom. I'd be thinking about all the things I said or what I said wrong or how to switch it. There's just no way. So now I can. So it opens that door up. But we're trying to figure out a way to like do that city tour thing again. Maybe as one-offs, like go to a place. Perform for a team for their fans or something. Figure out a way to do that because that's something that just doesn't even, like Chicago still stands out to me as one of the dopest. We had like women's national team players in the crowd. We had Chicago Fire players, Chicago Red Star players like in the crowd mixed in. It was just like dope. It was like one of those nights where it felt like Atlanta and that were like to us like the most epic nights. If like we could do that again, that'd be dope.
Yeah. So, I mean, same thing. It's like, I'm not performing as much as I used to.
Also, you got a kid now.
I also have a kid.
Congratulations.
Who's a hater getting in the way of my career.
You're lucky you have a daddy right now.
They don't want to see me win.
Bro, I grew up without a father. Hey, I turned that around. Do it, dog.
Hey, you
Leave your family, dog.
You want him to be successful? Look at that.
Thank you for the good advice. UrbanPitch.com.
Urban Pitch.
Yeah.
Don't stay with your kids.
No dads, dude.
And the opinions expressed on this do not necessarily reflect.
This
Urban
podcast
Pitch,
would be your daddy. Bro.
Shout out to us.
Shouts to us.
But yeah, man, there's a lot to look forward to, especially.
Yeah, he loves his kid, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to the kid.
Big fan of him. Mateo, shout out to him.
Good for them.
Stick around.
But yeah, actively doing more of those shows and getting more soccer fans out to shows is something like we're really working on for the future.
Yeah, I mean that'd be
Come
sweet
out to LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. I might be performing. If I don't go to the game this weekend, I might be performing.
Oh, nice.
All right, for sure. Yeah. Speaking of the game, I mean, this is gonna air Tuesday, so I mean, the games this weekend are gonna be,
Well, congratulations, LAFC and or Houston.
yeah, right. Whoever scores more goals, that whole thing.
Usually how it works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good note. Let me save that for the show.
We talk X's and O's too.
Yeah, that's the extent of our X's and O's.
Straight to the T's.
know.
Mostly
Yeah.
Chef Boyardee.
Right. Yeah.
We be
But
kicking.
what? Obviously, this year the new playoffs format is. What do you?
Basura.
Yeah, we already went through this a couple episodes ago. But what are you guys' thoughts on the playoff structure now? But also on these matchups, because I think the matchups are pretty excited. Like I'm really excited for Saturday.
Now that we're in the single round elimination, single game elimination, like let's go. This is the excitement we've been
Right.
waiting
Where
for.
we're at.
Not to say that the 3 games round didn't have moments of exhilaration, but there were just moments where like you could tell teams like, oh, we're losing by 4. All right,
Yeah.
we're done for this game.
Yeah.
We'll get you next week. It's like,
Right.
come on, bro. And the gap, man, we got to figure out,
that international breakout.
bro. If it's
But we
17 weeks the playoffs have been going on.
We had it before when it was just single game elimination. That's why we did the single game elimination 3 years ago when it started, because of that international break and getting done with the playoffs sooner.
And ratings don't matter anymore. It's behind a paywall. paywall. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So
Apple's not.
Shout out to Apple TV. We
disclosing
want
those
those
numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Apple ain't gonna tell anybody.
No.
But these, LAFC Houston and then the Hell is Real. I'm kind of, even though we're in LA, I'm a little nervous for LAFC. I mean, they haven't beat Houston this year, and Houston, especially at the Open Cup final, looked
scary.
Yeah, they look
they
comfortable
look good.
and stuff like that. So obviously, you're hearing this, and we already know the result or whatever. But I think Houston's gonna do it again. I'm a little.
And I will be predicting that whatever you guys know happened is what I said happened. They just edited it out of the show.
Right.
I just know James Harden's going to be in the crowd with a chain again.
Yeah.
Watching the
Yeah,
game.
dude.
Reckless. James Harden, man. I don't know. I think the team leans a little bit too much on Denny Bouanga. But if he shows up, y'all will win. If he doesn't show up, y'all will lose, and that's it.
That's true.
Yeah. Middle school.
I went to middle school with James Harden. Didn't score more than 5 points on me.
Really?
Locked him up. Yeah.
Locked him up.
Okay, I mean,
We're talking basketball, like badminton?
I don't know what it was. Hey, I'm not giving the
thought-
full
he thought it
story.
was
I'm not
one-
giving the full
yeah.
story, but
Yeah.
he never scored more than 5 points on me.
That's awesome. You guys never played together?
Nah, we never did.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's his
We
biggest
just in the yearbook.
accomplishment.
We just in the yearbook
Nothing
together.
else.
Yeah, that's dope, though.
He
He's
didn't
from LA?
graduate, but he had
Yeah, from
that
LA.
moment.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know he
we
was
both
from
went to
LA.
Audubon, which is in Leimert Park. So
You see what his face looks like without the beard.
yeah, man, I remember him having a half afro, half braided. Like, bro, he didn't get his hair cut until he got to the NBA.
That's crazy.
He went to Artesia.
Artesia,
Yeah.
He went to Artesia, then he went
Sounds delicious.
ASU. Yeah, oh, they have great pizza.
Yeah. Let me get 2 Artesias, extra cheese.
That's our third course for
Yeah.
today. We have a fresh Artesia.
Very nice.
Yeah. But what else? What else do you guys got?
No, definitely. Especially for you guys. You guys are in the forefront of this podcast soccer space. How does it feel like? Because we look up to you guys. So once we heard you guys were coming, we planned it 7 months. We're like, oh yeah, we've been waiting 7 months for you guys. we don't do last minute things here. But so how does it feel like the growth? Like, I know we spoke about it a little bit in front, but how does it feel like that growth from where you guys were at in the beginning to now?
It's hard for me to, because like Christian said, sometimes we'll get messages from people like, yo, you inspired me to start a podcast. I'm like, tell your family I'm sorry. You know? It's hard for me to think of myself as like inspirational in any way, shape, or form. But the one thing I'm happy about is that like what we did made other people also want to do it. So it's like expanding the space. The first 2 guys who kicked the ball to each other and other people were like, yo, we want to join, and then it grew from there. It feels like we got asked a couple times, like we had to pave our own way because every step we took, we had to convince those people that what we were doing was important. So that road is kind of paved already. So like there's people hopping on now that are going through that much faster than we ever did. And it's kind of like cool. Like every once in a while I'll look back or I'll sit back or somebody mentioned to me the other day, I'm not even sure if I told you this, like I only found out about the Golasso show or the Golasso network because of Cooligans. Like they were listening to Cooligans, where you would assume TV is going to let more people know about what we do. But it's like, no, we were listening to you. And that's how we found out that there was this other network that does 24-hour like soccer stuff. And I'm like, oh, and it was a player. It's like, dude, that's crazy. Like there was a time where like we couldn't find a way to get players to talk to us. And now they're just listening to us on their own. Like that kind of stuff to me just lets me know that that idea that we had and the fact that we just kind of kept our head down and kept working. Like even when, we weren't getting the numbers we wanted or, stuff we would put up wasn't really doing it or hitting it or people weren't getting the idea that we had, that they didn't see value in like when we pitched like a road thing or do this with like this brand, they just wouldn't get it. Like all of that was for something. Like now we've just kept our head down, just kept working for so long that now we could look back and see like, people not only enjoyed what we did, but it's inspired other people to try to do it too. And it also keeps us on our toes because like we can't just sit back and do the same show. Like we have to keep evolving to keep growing. And it's kind of exciting. Everything feels still fresh.
Yeah, we got a lot of no's.
A lot of
no's throughout our career, especially those first like 4 or 5 years of people being like, nah, I don't get it. I don't know what you guys are doing. But even now, like seeing the posts of people posting their Spotify Wrapped,
Right.
And a couple of people are like, "Yo, Cooligans is the top podcast." I'm like, "Yo, that means a lot." I mean, I don't take it for granted that people spend the 45 minutes to an hour 2 times a week to listen to us. Like that's a real commitment, and it means a lot. I mean, like we're in LA for something we can't really even talk about right now, but it's a.
And they'll never find the body.
Okay. Stop asking questions.
Yeah. What are you, a cop? Is there a wire in this?
Yeah. But we've had like these like milestone moments. I was just talking to my wife the other day because she was
finally.
I refuse.
He's back with the family, dude.
The therapist helped us out. No, I was talking to her because she will occasionally like remind me of like on days that I might be like stressed about something or like want my career to be in a certain place. She'll just kind of remind me of like all the stuff that we've done. And I was talking to her about it, and she asked me like, "Oh, what's like one of the coolest things you feel like you've done?" And then, going to Germany, going to Paris. We went for Messi's first game when he played for PSG debut. All these things, like, and making a documentary with Everton and all this other stuff. But the things I always kind of remember the most is not like the things, the accomplishments. Is usually like the people we met along the way. Like when we went to Germany, we were there with a bunch of other like journalists and a couple people from Bundesliga, and like the moments that mean so much to me are like being at a bar talking to everybody, and it's like we're comedians, and they're all football journalists,
like serious European journalists,
100% serious journalists,
like
and
the most respected clubs fear these people. And we're just like, sometimes I feel like I have one of those clown noses next to them. I know, right?
And we're making them laugh and just joking around, and like the way we bring the comedy club green room to the soccer world. And those are the moments I love because they're just like, even we did stand up in Berlin for a bunch of the Bundesliga staff. And
they came out to the show.
They came to the show.
Like, I don't know what timing wise, they put them in the front row. So it's like, so we're both getting up like, bro.
But it was a thing where we're making them like laugh all week. And we're throwing about a bunch of jokes and everywhere we go. And then when they saw us do stand up, they're like, "Oh, you guys are like actually funny." I was like, "Bro, what was the other 3 days?
You've been laughing this whole time."
But there's something about like, I think people have this fear of like, oh, if I go see a stand-up comedian, they might not be funny. Mm-hmm. And then when it's like, oh, these guys are actually professionals, they're like, oh, okay, I get it.
And in another country. No, somebody once asked me, they're like, isn't it crazy? Like, you'll go to another city and like, you just know you can make them laugh. You have like the balls to like walk up on stage, make people you've never met laugh. I was like, I never really thought of it that way. I'm like, I'm gonna do my act. I hope you laugh. But like, bro, we're in another country. We'd never been to Berlin before. It's a city we've never been to, and we're just gonna get up on stage, and we did it. We made the crowd laugh. Like, we had great sets. It was awesome. But they were like, wow, you guys are actually funny. It's like, you've been here the whole time. You've been in stitches since we got it.
So those are the moments that really mean a lot. The fact that we could leave our imprint on everybody has their contributions to the American soccer space or just the football world or whatever, but that's what we get to bring. And if people like mess with it, cool, and if they don't, we get those comments as well.
There's a lot of serious soccer fans. We treat it like a religion.
So those almost like mean
boring
more to me than like the growth of like who knows what will end up, but like it's been like the journey. I know it sounds like cliche and corny, but that journey has been really, really meaningful.
Yeah, it's the friends we made along the way.
That's it, bro.
Yeah. Okay. And shout out to the haters too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dog. Yo, if you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping it.
Right.
My favorite moment is when we touched.
I was gonna say maybe that. Yeah.
That was it. After that, we could have just done nothing.
Was it like a collision course? Or was it like a little round?
We already passed this.
Now I gotta know.
They actually high five. Which was really cool.
You got fingers.
Well, I got thinking about it this whole time.
100%. Yeah. He's gonna draw it later tonight.
Hey, don't make fun of my art.
The art is art, dude. I'll support. I'll come out to your live show. Dude.
No, but I mean, like, having been in like multiple like different press boxes, it does get stuffy in there, and like the whole like, there's obviously a line of professionalism they have to maintain.
Yeah,
but, like,
which I think is so corny. Like, what year is it? Yeah, like you can't. I get the not cheering. There's people writing articles, and that's the one thing I think we understood too. Like, they put us in press boxes because we get press credentials. Like, we don't belong here. We're not like tippy-tapping away at articles as the game's going on. We're like sitting there watching, being like, oh, what are the cool questions we're gonna ask the players afterwards? Like, we don't belong in that. I even said to someone at MLS years ago, like, there should be a different credential for what we do, and he was like, nope. We have there's something in there for everyone, and it's like there really isn't. Like, I shouldn't be taking a seat at a press box from someone else. Throw me in a suite. Now, here's my pitch.
Free alcohol.
Yes. Free food, free alcohol, little lid, better questions. Am I right?
Yeah.
But honestly, like what the content, like you're technically not allowed to film selfie style from the side, from the pitch side. Which is like what we do needs that. And that's content that you as a league should want to exist. So like you have to figure out a way to put us somewhere else, give us some type of other thing. Hopefully that happens soon, but it's like, bro, like I still can't believe like we're in this press trip to Germany or like we get invited to press stuff and it's like, man, these people are working so hard.
Yeah.
And we're over here being silly.
I think a good example is the kid, the NFL kid.
Yeah.
Oh, we were just talking about that.
That got in trouble, and it's just like, I think that's a kind of a turning point of like, oh, what he does is probably going to be the standard of media.
The video of him getting fired is probably getting more views than the games themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
So and good on him for like putting that together because he basically made his resume with that one video. But
without being petty, which was not the way I would go about it. So that's very good.
But it shows that the media landscape is in sports really is changing, and it's a little bit more fluid, and it's a little bit more like taking more risks and stuff like that. So I think that's what we hope to sort of be the forefront of just like, we'll take the hits of like, like we say some like risque jokes, or we might tease a player. We usually don't do jokes like, yo, this player sucks and he should never be in the league and we got to make fun of him. That's like literally never.
Unless it's like messy and we're obviously being sarcastic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So I think the fun thing, like we called Jordan Morris, that we said that he looked like boxed wine. He's like a square shaped man.
Bridges said Pelusia is a basic white man.
So
you're not wrong.
we can have that kind of fun and everybody else. I think everybody else has to kind of adapt and adjust, because I think that's the future of like getting attention on your game by taking more risks and having fun.
And we've been told by people like in the league or people that are like associated with the league, like, all right, like sometimes they'll work with us on something and we're like, yo, we didn't even think you guys knew who we were. Or like, you told us no a few years ago, like, what's going on? And like, well, you guys just won't go away. And that's like I think actually that's like wild positive. Like, yeah, we're just not gonna stop. Like, we're gonna be here and we're gonna keep getting a bigger fan base and we're gonna keep trying to cool stuff. And eventually you'll see that maybe you want to work with us, or like there's a value to it. And I think we've gotten to the point where like we've hit like little milestones. We're like, oh, all right, like we've somehow turned this person around, this person who would never even respond to us, now all of a sudden is reaching out to us. I'm like, all right, cool. We're showing that there's some value there.
Yeah, and then you show them the nose that. Fucks
and now the price went triple.
Right. Yeah. You thought
we up. We up.
Yeah.
But Christian, Alexis, thank you so much for taking the time. I know y'all are busy. Y'all made this happen.
Thank you, Ramsey, Brian, Janet.
Yeah, just my three favorite.
Huge fan.
I thought I was in Thanksgiving again.
No, this has been great. Thank you so much.
We
appreciate y'all. This has been the Urban Pitch Podcast, The Beautiful Game of Life, part of the Weave Network. Julio Monterosa, Bridget Flores, Christian Polanco, Alexis Guerreros. I'm Ramsey Abushala. Thanks for tapping in. We'll see y'all next week.
Comment, like, subscribe.